Now, I have the pleasure of being joined in studio by some lovely ladies, our producer Sinead Hubble and also Heidi Higgins, who is a designer and studio and boutique owner in Portlaoise. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And then, of course, there's Eamon Timmins on the phone as well. Morning, Eamon.
Good morning, Will. How are you?
You're a lovely man.
Thank you.
Eamon is from Age Action Ireland, and the reason we're focusing on the Innocent Smoothies Big Knit is because every year in Ireland, around 2,000 people over the age of 65 will unfortunately pass away as a result of cold-related conditions. So, Eamon, what's the purpose of the Big Knit?
Well, the Big Knit is the second year we've done it here in Ireland, and with Innocent Smoothies, we're getting people to knit these little bottle top hats, and they go on sale in November. And for every bottle with a hat on it that is sold, Innocent will donate 25 cents to Age Action. We're using that for our winter education, our Stay Well, Stay Warm education campaign in the winter. We know from the last 2 winters it's been very, very difficult for older people. And as you said in the introduction there, up to 2,000 older people die each winter from cold-related illnesses. That's an excess winter rate, which means it's greater in the winter compared to the summer. And there are some tips and there are some things older people can do to stay well and warm in the winter. And I know we've been on the show here regularly during the winter talking about older people and how to stay well and warm. Last year, I suppose, it got more extreme again, and we actually had volunteers out visiting people, particularly people who were stranded in their homes with the severe winter weather for 2 and 3 weeks at a time. So we had people out visiting, delivering groceries, medical supplies, fuel. So that's what the money is used for. The problem we have is we've got to get 80,000 of these little hats knitted before the 14th of October. So it's a huge challenge. And thankfully we have the likes of Heidi, and we had Roy Seven, the band, and Conan Island, the tennis player, and a number of the Bohemian soccer team came out to help us last week with the protocol to launch the Big Knit. But now we've got to get people around the country knitting.
Okay, so many people, I think, will knit as a leisure activity to relax in the evening. There are even knitting clubs, Eamon. Can you knit yourself?
I knitted one last year, Will. It took the effort that went into it was far more than some of the people. There was a couple of ladies who were down with Heidi at the launch, and I've seen them knitting. Mary, one of the ladies there, taught me to knit this hat. It took me forever. Mary, in the same time, would have knocked off 10 or 20 of them.
Was it a successful hat? Did it resemble a hat?
It was a beautiful hat. It was a work of art in my eyes.
Did anybody buy it?
I'm sure they did. We should have really put a premium price on it. If the sweat and blood and tears that went into it, it would have been worth far more than 25 cents, you know.
Well, I'm sure whatever creation I come up with won't be a patch on yours. But if, Eamon, for the benefit of those who want to send these in and help out, how do they go about it?
Well, the easiest way is if they have access to the internet, at www.innocentdrinks.ie/the Big Knit. There's patterns and ideas and tips, and there's various patterns from the very beginners like myself up to advanced patterns for people who want to. There's been some incredible hats being produced already. If people go onto the Innocent Drinks website, they'll see the hat of the week for this week. It's the most remarkable hat of a little fisherman. So there's everything from the very beginners up to the advanced. And then there's the address. It's the Innocent Big Knit, Fruit Towers, 120 Lower Baggage Street, Dublin 2. And then we need to try and get those hats in for the 14th of October because they then have got to go away to the warehouse to be put on top of the bottles. And but all the details are there, and also a lot of inspiration and prizes. And so everything that people need is on that website.
Okay, and of course we're competing with other radio stations as well. So the people of Laois, Offaly, Westmeath will go up against Tip FM and Shannonside Northern Sound. I mean, if Joe Finnegan gets more hats than me...
You're going to have to start knitting, Will.
I will walk across the bridge in Athlone wearing only my little hat. Okay, so
Wow.
There's a threat.
Oh my God, we better get knitting soap.
There's a threat. Eamon, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Will.
Now it's time for me and you, if you don't know how, to learn how to knit.
Just as well, I brought some spare needles, Will.
Yes, indeed. They're massive.
They are
needles.
massive.
These are massive ones. Well, you told me you're a beginner, so I'm trying to make it easy for you.
Is this like when, kids learn to write, they use crayons as opposed to pens?
Something like that. I actually love knitting, and I mostly knit scarves and things like that I don't have to of go by a pattern too much, which is why the hats are so much fun, because they're so simple, and you're literally knitting 14 rows, and then you're knit 2 stitches together for one row, and again 2 stitches together for another row, and then you don't even have to cast it off, which can be hard for people to do, and that can be the final result, so sometimes it can turn out disastrously. You literally take a piece of the yarn and bring a darning needle through it and pull it, and that gives you the tightness at the top to make the hat shape. So they are really, really simple, and the instructions on the internet and on the Big Knit website are really, really easy peasy, and you can follow it through, and then if you get a little bit more advanced, you can start to sort of try.
You see, I don't want to start with the simple ones because it's just too easy. The ones that you've brought in here, like there's a gorgeous little purple one with glitter going through and a nice little bow at the top of it. That's what I want to know how to do. The simple thing, just I want to go on extreme.
But
I think
that one is actually really, really simple. It's just that I have a quirky yarn to it, and I've played around with colours. I've just mixed the colours. So it's actually, 2 colours for the hat. Literally started off with a pink, swapped it over to the purple. I ran a glitter yarn through the purple yarn. That's where I got the glitter. So they can be quite simple. They don't have to be complex. There's some amazing ones that have that look like fruits and have different colours through them. I wouldn't even dare go near those ones.
But you've got lots of lovely little ones like this one. It's kind of got little fluff at the top of it.
Yeah, well, actually, I couldn't remember how to make the pom poms, so I was googling that the other night. My boyfriend's from Tip, so he insisted that I knitted Tip and Kilkenny hats, which I did for the All Ireland. But you can actually have great fun once you knit the first one, and you master it. Because it did take me now two hats to knit to get the size right, because the first one came out massive, depending on.
And I'm conscious, in fact, that while you listening, you can't see these hats. So
we'll put
in
pictures
terms
up
of
later
size, they would fit over the top of an Innocent Smoothie bottle.
Yeah, and they're slightly bigger than, like, say, a Coke bottle or a water bottle or whatever. So what I did was actually I bought myself a bottle. I drink them anyway, but I went out and got a bottle, and when it was finished, I've kept the bottle so that I can make sure that each one that I make sits onto it. Because when you change around, if you are getting a little bit more experimental, like with the yarns and things, it does change variation. Like if you have a big chunky wool, it's going to come up bigger than a smaller wool or whatever. But they're great fun, and people can you can decorate them really, really nicely as well. They have also on the website, which is really interesting for people who can't knit, no matter how hard they try to pick it up, where they can actually cut out patterns and just make little hats out of maybe an old woolly jumper that they might have or something like that. So they have all that there for people, so you can play around. And
so there's lots of other ideas.
There's lots of other ideas, yeah. And even the way you can get the little eyeballs that the kids stick, little stickers, and there was, because at the launch of it, there was ones where like little kind of almost like little aliens and things like that, like really, really quirky, really fun.
So you can get really creative.
You can get really, really creative.
Can you hand me over the needles? Because I'm feeling like a spare you-know-what here. So these... Right, are gigantic needles. Just so you know, these are about 18 inches long. They're a centimetre thick or more, so I basically can't go wrong. Is
so
that the whole
uncomfortable
theory?
With them right now.
No, well, I remember genuinely when I was 5 or 6 or 7, my granny, my nana, was a big knitter, and I was always curious, and I wanted to do what she was doing. And she taught me a little bit about knitting, and I haven't touched it since. But I remember seeing her every evening. She relaxed. It was her way of unwinding in the same way that people today unwind in front of the telly.
You don't even need to look at it.
Computer.
Like there was a lady there at the launch, and she had knitted from Age Action Ireland over 900 hats last year. Like, I mean, I nearly fell off the chair when I heard that. That is like literally they just do it so quickly because they're so used to it, and it's the speed in their hands actually is unbelievable.
But it is an older lady stereotype. You don't really think of the younger woman sitting at home knitting.
But it's become really, really popular. Like up in Dublin and around the country, there are lots of little groups, kind of, knit and bitch groups they call them, and knit and stitch and all these. Like, and it's literally like, I presume guys go to them as well, sit around and just have a little chat and whatever. And if you're working on something, you can ask somebody, oh, I don't know how to do this, or like that kind of stuff.
I'd love to leave a microphone in the middle of one of those groups and hear everything that's going on.
They seem, from all the research this week on it, they seem very informal, where people just turn up if they feel like it. There's a group in Mullingar who meet in the Ambrook on a Wednesday night. The group in Portarlington meet on a Tuesday. There's a group in Tullamore and Burr. So there's groups all over the place in Eden Derry as well. So, and people have been saying it's a great way to kind of keep in contact with people as well.
Okay.
But
So trying to describe this, on my long 18-inch needle in my
Yes.
right hand,
Okay.
you've all the work done, and then the other needle has
Now,
nothing
are
on
you
it.
left or right-handed?
I'm right-handed
Oh yeah, okay. So put the ones that have the stitches on them into your left hand.
on the left hand. Okay.
Yeah, so bring your right hand. Now, I had to look up the poem last night. I was saying this to Sinead because this is how you learn to do it in school, okay? Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So it says, down through the bunny hole, around the big tree, up pops the bunny and off goes she. So that's, we're going to see if I can remember how to teach it.
Where's
So
the
you're
bunny hole?
The bunny hole. Okay, so you're going to have to put the needle through the first loop.
Through
Yeah, you see, yeah.
this little loop. There's a little
Yeah.
loop already
Through
from where
there,
Heidi
okay.
left off.
Right, now you're going to get the thread and you're going to have to wrap it around the needle.
Wrap it. This is the trailing thread here, is it?
Yeah, the trailing
Wrap it around which
so
needle?
So put the needle, you got to get, okay.
Yeah, she has to show me
I will
basically.
do a
Why don't
demo.
you demonstrate? Yes.
Okay, so you put the needle in through the first stitch.
Mm-hmm.
You wrap it around the needle.
Okay, wrapping it around the needle that doesn't
That
have the
doesn't
stitching
have
on.
the
Yes.
yeah all the stitches on it, and then you bring it through. It's basically a series of knots, and like you can play around and be a bit more kind of playful with it as well if you want. So you're literally in through the hole. Let me see if I can do it around the bunny tree. Up pops the bunny and off goes she. So yeah, you can see how the poem coincides.
I can
with-
see how the
with
poem
stitches.
works. I just haven't a clue how you get all that hand-eye coordination.
It's actually, that's why it's hard to teach it, because when you're so used to doing it, you just kind of do it so naturally.
and
you don't really think
do start
about
getting
it.
really fast at it.
You do, yeah, and I actually did a couple of them on the knitting machine. The knitting machines are donkey years old. I mean, I was given it as a present from my friend's Aunt Kate, and she was throwing them out, and they used to use them years ago. They were, I believe Dot from EastEnders used to have one always on the show. When people hear, they always think of that. But I played around with some of them actually on the knitting machine, because we used to use the knitting machines in college quite a lot, and we did a huge amount of knit work for the first couple of years while I was in college. And it does take a while to get used to the knack of it, but you can do different things. You can create kind of lace patterns and things like that, which I was playing around with, and sort of, it's great to do something a little bit different and be really kind of delve into something more. It's almost like going back to college for me, to be really creative. It's something that's, doesn't have to be very, very functional. Like, it's just, you can play around. It's not like making, a dress or something like that. You can just have a bit of fun with it.
Well, look, I suppose the purpose of the campaign is to help a good cause. They have to sell, and to encourage people to buy them, the more attractive looking or quirky looking they are is a help. It's not a must.
No, it's not a must. It's just like I think once people get the gist of it, if they make the first 2 or 3, you actually really get into it, and you're dying to kind of challenge yourself to, be a little bit more experimental. When you get a little bit of courage that you know how to make it, then you can play around, like even just doing the county colours just for a bit of fun. We put them up on Facebook the other day, and you got a great reaction. So it's a nice way to let people to know like how you can kind of be a little bit more playful with it, and you can get your inspiration from colours and things like that as well.
I thought we had a volunteer there for a moment. John Blackweir, our accountant, walked by the window, saw the knitting needles and scarpered.
Do you know what we'll do? We'll bring in some knitting needles and wool into the station when we get everyone in the building to do a knit one hat next week.
Yes, we'll get the knitting
including you.
needles in. Everybody in the building
Looking forward
can
to seeing
take part.
those.
Innocentdrinks.ie is the website. A few people were asking me to say it a little bit more slowly. So innocentdrinks.ie is the website. Heidi, thank you very much for coming in.
No problem, thank
Sinead,
you.
thanks as always.
No problem.
And the deadline, by the way, is October 14th. So plenty of time to get together with friends or do it yourself and design and build as many of these little hats as you can.